All right, welcome to the Political Playbook. I'm Wyatt, and this is my co-host Darren, and we are reacting live to the election day results. And it could not have gone better if you are a Democrat and you're trying to position yourself for a left-wing America. This could not have gone better. So Mamdani wins, and we'll get into the details of that very soon. But um, in Virginia, they won the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the attorney general positions. They also flipped several Supreme Court seats in that state. New Jersey, similar thing there, won the governor, whatnot. California, Prop 5 or Prop 50 passes, which basically allows them to redistrict California in response to Texas's redistricting. In other news, like this was like a lesser known one, Darren. Mississippi lost their supermajority. So, like, this is not necessarily just happening in blue states. There is a wide swing to the left in basically every county in the country. So, I guess to start out with you, like, do you have any huge takeaways from the other night, or what do you think?
Um, okay, so I guess my main takeaway, and this will go into a broader discussion, I guess. So, you know, last night a lot of people were calling this a blue wave, and Democrats were feeling incredibly triumphant. Mamdani won, and then a lot of more center left Democrats won all over in other states. But and this might sound like cope because I am of the more right wing persuasion, but I really don't feel like it is cope to say that. Um, I just don't think it's like that big of a deal. I mean, a progressive won in New York, so Mamdani, and we kind of already knew he was going to win after the primary. It was foolish for Cuomo to get back in, and even if Sliwa had gotten out, it doesn't seem like Cuomo would have won. Uh, so a progressive won in a very progressive city. And then Democrats won and Democrat strongholds. I mean, Virginia has been blue for a very long time, and so has New Jersey. New Jersey's a blue place. I saw some stuff in Georgia where the Democrats picked up some offices, but I mean, Georgia's pretty purple, so I could see it going either way over there. I will say, if I'm being charitable to the other side, I do think, and we can go into the reasons later, perhaps, but I do think this does it does show a little bit of disillusionment with the Trump admin, because I do think the Democrats in these blue states won by wider margins than they would have had Trump been doing a good job, Uh, but I mean, that is speculation on my part. I do think Trump is doing a bad job. But yeah, I kind of just reject this whole blue wave thing, and we can go more into it later in terms of why they're calling it that. But to me, it seems very par for the course. I kind of expected all this to happen. But what say you? What makes it a blue wave, or do you agree with me?
Well, so I don't necessarily think it's a blue wave in the sense that like we can use this to project forward. But in terms of the results, like I said, you could not have gotten a better outcome. Some of the counties in New Jersey, for example, flipped like 40 points in favor of Democrats. Like some of the shifts that we're seeing are just crazy to believe. So like for example, for the gubernatorial race in Virginia, there was a 9 point swing in favor of Democrats. And it's the same thing in New Jersey, basically, just a little bit smaller. So we're seeing a larger shift towards Democrats in reaction to Trump's government. Optimistic, especially for a base that is so demoralized, right? I mean, the Democratic base has literally just been beaten down since 2024, like since November. So they finally get like a positive reaction from the base through an election. Like, I totally get the overreaction. I mean, Kyle Kalinske is going nuts.
Rest in peace, MAGA bozos. Wrong. Rest in piss, MAGA bozos. That's what I meant to say. Rest in piss. Rest in piss. Woke is back. Woke is back, baby. We're here. We're here. We're not going anywhere. You thought we were done. You thought we were down and out. You thought it was a wrap. You thought you permanently had this country on lockdown. Wrong, you don't. You don't.
I do want to be careful though, because there is a risk of over interpreting like an off year election, right? But I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, it's not good. Like, if you're a Republican, you have to acknowledge that you just got smacked in the face last night electorally. I mean, there's no other way. You can say all this stuff about, oh, it was only in blue states and it was only in bullshit, dude. The shift was across the entire country. They may not have like done enough to flip, right? But that doesn't change the fact that like there is momentum building. You know what I mean? And I think that that's irrefutable. But
I no, I just disagree. I mean, this is like bragging that a Republican won the governorship in Oklahoma. It's like, if it didn't happen, then that would be like really surprised. That would be telling if a Democrat uh, won a gubernatorial race in Oklahoma. But I mean, even if it is by a wider margin, you can say like, look, this does show that people are currently unhappy with the current admin. But I mean, what does it say about the rest of the country? I don't know. I just don't find it to be that profound of a victory. I think this is more of a case of, because like you said earlier, I mean, the Democrats were so demoralized in the wake of Trump's loss that I think they're really just grasping onto anything
well,
to.
if I may
Mhm.
counter,
Yep, go
uh,
for it.
I think that so like when you look at specifically Mamdani, right, the demographics that voted for him, um, the coalition changed, right? So the demographics of a traditional Democrat are, black and Latino, white liberals, women, stuff like that. The biggest area where he gained voters was young men and working class people, like people under like 40K. So I think that that's a reason to be optimistic, because that is MAGA, right? Like young men and like lower class workers, middle class workers. Like, whenever we're seeing the coalition of the Democrats change to something more broad and more like reliable, I think that that's, reason to be optimistic, because you're taking away from your core opponent's demographic base. I mean, like Trump has been losing support from the youth since he got elected. And it's one thing to lose support from the youth, but it's another thing for them to be actively engaged on your opponent's side, which is what we're seeing happen. And listen, they're young. Like, that's the whole thing about the youth, is that they're pretty dynamic. They can change between now and 2026. But it's very optimistic if you're a Democrat, because you need the youth vote if you're going to have a substantial change in the electorate. That's just the way it is.
Well, okay, I see more of what you're saying, I think. I guess what I'm trying to convey is that, if you're a Democrat, you do have reason to be optimistic, because I think people are, myself included, are, very disappointed with Trump and how he's been handling things, especially on the economy, which you can argue is part of the reason Zohran won in New York. He kind of, affordability is kind of what he was running on. And then also there was the whole like not being controlled by Israel angle that I think people liked, but I think affordability was likely
The
the
winning
biggest
message
part of
for
it.
sure.
Yeah. So in that regard, I do think I mean, but I've held this belief and that Trump is going to suffer in the midterms because well, he's just been doing so bad. I think there
Right.
will be consequences, but I guess in my mind this was all like to be expected. So nothing
Sure.
has
Well,
happened that
and
has surprised me necessarily. Like, so I guess that's kind of where I differ. It's like if
right. And let's
nothing shocked me yet.
right. I mean, look, let's not overreact here, right? I mean, that's not the point of this podcast for sure. I mean, we'll let, certain other people go absolutely nuts, but let's not do that here. I think for us, like if you're like it's not all bad if you're a Republican. Like I know that they just got their ass kicked last night and they're probably pretty demoralized for now, but you basically saw what you need to do, right? Or at least like what challenge you have to overcome. Because I think this is my opinion, right? This is the biggest problem for Republicans is that the Democrats have an open playbook on what they are going to run on. They're going to run on every Democrat in the country is going to run on Trump's governing ability and the failures of that. Whether it's the shutdown, whether it's the struggling economy, whether it's the grocery prices, and they're going to tie that to whichever candidate in whatever race, right? The problem for the Republicans is that that candidate has to be able to overcome that, despite the fact it's not their fault, but they can't use Trump on the ballot to drive turnout. Like this is a huge problem. And Trump understands this, I think, really well. Is that when he's not on the ballot, there's going to be less Republican turnout. That's just the way it is. So,
Yeah.
how do you overcome? Like he's the source of their problems, but he can't be the source of their solutions. So they basically have a year from today to figure out how they're going to fix this. So, I mean, at least you know what you have to do now because we saw the same thing in 2018. Like he wasn't on the ballot and they got swamped. And that was with a booming economy. So just think about what's going to happen now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors to this. For one thing, the voting base is kind of flipped around. So now the Republicans kind of have the low propensity voters, so they're far less likely to vote in the midterms. So they already have that disadvantage going in a way. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Supreme Court will overturn like the voting what is it, the Voting Rights Act or something, and that would allow some of these red states to redistrict, and then they could pick up some seats in the House. And so maybe all the damage of his poor governance can be mitigated. But I don't know. I mean, I think even with all that mitigation, what I think he's performed so badly that he'd probably be lucky to just maintain the majorities he has. I mean, it would probably be really close. And
Well,
I figured when he was elected that he would lose seats in the midterms, but it could be pretty bad because I won't lie, the economy is pretty terrible right now. So
yeah, I mean, here's the thing too, though, with that redistricting thing. And then once we're done with this, we can go into the specifics of Mamdani and stuff. But as far as the redistricting goes, they're actually playing a pretty big gamble. Because basically what you're saying is so the idea of redistricting is that you're going to pack as many Democrats into one area and then you're going to spread the love of Republicans so you can get more seats, right?
mm-hmm.
And the problem is that the new strategy that they're doing is basically they're packing more Democrats, or at least traditional Democratic coalitions, into Republican like districts, so that way they can squeeze as much out as they can. The risk with doing that is that you could have a Tea Party thing, where you try to redistrict to where you can get as many seats as humanly possible, but it makes them more purple. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of doing it. If you're trying to restrict the Democrats to one seat or two seats in a state, you're going to have to put more Democrats in your Republican districts and then just be hope to God that the majority stays. So, I mean, it's not a super big gamble because these people that are doing this are like literally getting paid to figure this stuff out. But I mean, it could backfire. Like there is potential for that. But in both ways too, in California and in Texas. But
Yeah,
um
it's certainly a possibility, and I mean, especially because I mean, as we saw in like New York, at least some statistics I saw, the Hispanics and the blacks, they went more for Mamdani, and I would imagine that that trend probably carries nationwide in terms of
right.
because Trump had picked up quite a few Hispanics and blacks, but I can definitely see that reversing, especially with the Hispanics. There's like the ICE thing, and then with blacks, I mean they never voted Republican anyway, so it was probably all about Trump. If Trump isn't on the ballot, I doubt we'll see much black turnout for Republican congressmen. So,
Going specifically into Mamdani's race. Um why did he win, Darren?
well, there's a lot of factors. I think focusing on affordability, being charismatic, doing the TikToks, also just refusing to like toe the Zionist Israeli line.
First foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first?
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
I would go to Israel.
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, two of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform.
So he kind of just rejected the premise, and that won him a lot of favor. I think that really was a big part of it, his anti-Zionism, because I think left wingers especially are looking for someone who has kind of like the moral clarity on the issue. They want a national leader who can just firmly be anti-Zionist and just say it with their chest instead of couching it and a bunch of different things and redirecting. I'm thinking of people like Pete Buttigieg or something who is not anti-Zionist in the slightest, but he does know it's an issue, and so he'll like when he tries to answer questions about it, he'll like he's being very inauthentic. So I think that was actually a huge part of it, the anti-Zionism. I think the affordability, I think people like the idea of freezing rent, and I'm sure it plays well to a more uneducated demographic, but even educated demographics. Evidently, I mean, he had high.
I was gonna say,
college.
I feel like the educated, like elitist, that's his demo. Like
Yeah.
socialism, like it or not, is it's a very like white college graduate type issue. Like it's not very popular between black and Hispanic communities. It's just not.
Yeah, it's funny too. I mean, it's like they went to college, but I guess they didn't take an econ course or like business. So I mean, the rent freezes. I mean, there are a lot of here. Do you have thoughts on this? Let me ask your thoughts on why he won, and then we can go into do we think he'll be effective at all? But first, why do you think he won? What really got people out to vote for him?
Well, I think that the biggest thing for him is that he like was the only one on that stage that was anti-establishment. I mean, the only reason that Cuomo was the favorite is because he had the name recognition, but any one of those guys on that stage would have been just as much of an establishment shill as Cuomo. They just may not have the name behind it. So, like, whenever you have six people up there and then you have one, like, shining beacon that's saying something different, I mean, it definitely, like, I think that if they wouldn't have asked that question about Israel, he wouldn't have probably been any more than like a backstop. I don't think he would have won. So
It's entirely possible.
I think his message was, and once he got going, like the momentum just became way too much to stop because they sure tried. I mean, between Bloomberg and Sam Altman, or there was a lot of money behind Cuomo, right? So like Cuomo had like $40 million in this race. I mean, that's more than the Oklahoma GOP is going to spend the entire midterms. Like, it makes no sense. Mamdani had only had like 10 million, 11 million, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whenever you're comparing like money like that, I mean, the message was too big to fail, I think. So, if I were a Democrat going forward, I would try and model as much of this as you could, because this definitely seemed to engage people. So yeah, I mean, whether or not he'll be effective, who knows, right? Like, I'm sure you are skeptical, as am I, that he's going to be able to even pass a lot of this stuff.
I'll just assume he does pass everything. I just don't think any of these things are good ideas. I mean, even from the small things to the big things. I mean, we can go through the issues. He wants to do like subsidized grocery stores. I mean, this just seems silly. I mean, you and I both know. We went to business school. The margins, the profit margins on grocery stores are already razor thin. I mean, because it's such a competitive industry. The reason it's so expensive in New York is because it's really hard to ship things in. Everything's so tight and compact and small, and among other factors. So everything is more expensive up there. And there's grocery stores on like every corner, pretty much. So there's no lack of competition. If anything, there's the most competition you could ever get. The reason prices are high is because, I mean, that's just kind of where the market has reached equilibrium. So you can do a subsidized grocery store, but you're not going to reduce prices that much. And at the end of the day, I mean, what really is saving people money is like, if they're really poor, is EBT, because they just get the food basically for free up to a certain limit. So I don't know. The whole subsidized grocery store, I just think is stupid. But before I go on to his other ideas, which I think are mostly stupid, what do you think about the subsidized grocery store? Is there any merit to it?
So I don't, and this was my understanding, is that he's trying to just do a similar thing with the free bus fare thing. He's trying to do like a 5-store experiment, see if it's effective in bringing down prices and going from there. And I honestly have no like principle against that, but I share the same concerns you do. I mean, for the audience who doesn't know, like grocery stores can operate sometimes at like a 2% margin, which is, for those of you who don't know, extremely fucking low. So
Yeah.
the idea that they are, just price gouging for the hell of it is just not true. I mean, between shrinkage and like fuel cost to get stuff in, I mean, they're not gouging bananas. The prices are what they are because that's what they have to be. As for whether or not it'll be effective, I don't know. But this is my whole thing with Mamdani. I am totally cool with letting him be like the experimental guinea pig here. Because like, and not necessarily as much on this idea, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on. Well, here, let's just go on to the next one. Like free public transit, like free buses, free train rides. What do you think of that?
Yeah, this is another one. I'm just not a fan of the idea because, I mean, I've been to New York. Public transit is just filled with terrible people. And it's, yeah, I mean, you can go on TikTok and find the absolute worst people and get an exaggerated impression of it. It's not that bad, but, it's crowded already with, people of ill repute, the homeless. If you make it free, then it's really just it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he has a solution to this. I haven't seen it. But if you make it free, then a homeless person gets on, and you really can't kick him off as long as he's not, causing an issue, and then he's just taking up space. So it's like a traveling motel, basically.
So you're worried that the homeless people will just live on the trains and the buses? Is that what you're worried about?
Basically. And, not all homeless people are insane or, causing disturbances, but a higher percentage of them are likely to do those things, to be disruptive. So, it's a numbers thing. You let these people on for free, they're just going to totally ruin the amenities. So I just think it's a terrible idea for that
Right,
reason.
but didn't he
what
just
say
say?
you?
I mean, listen. They already use this stuff anyway. You know what I mean? It's not like there will be a sudden influx that never existed before, and now we have to account for that and all this stuff. That's not true. They already get on the trains. They already do graffiti. They already sleep on the buses. Like they already do all that, right?
They do all that, but they're limited. I mean, because they still have limited funds. You have to pay every
Right,
time
but
you want to.
if we're trying to measure this in like net utility, right? I mean,
Mhm.
what's going to be a better save here? The millions of New Yorkers, or at least thousands and thousands and thousands of them, they're going to save on the bus fare, the train ticket, right? Versus like the few homeless people that are going to flood these during like operating hours. I mean, come on. I think you're being stingy here. This
I
one
think
seemed like the
you.
no-brainer here. I thought this one was one that everyone could get behind.
I think you have too high an opinion of the homeless, because I'm going off anecdotes for this, but when I visited New York, I mean, every street corner, tons of, lots of homeless people. And if they can just get on the public transit rather than being outside in the cold, then, that's where they're going to go. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, if you want the amenities to be not, filthy and nice, clean, and safe, then this is a, sure way to make sure the quality it just goes downhill.
Well, listen, I'm sure that we could find a solution to that. I am not convinced that that obstacle alone means that we have to throw away this entire initiative. And listen, let's just assume for the sake of argument that this at least means that like they're gonna try a lot of this, you know? So, what else you got? Because that now it seems like you don't like anything about Mamdani other than he doesn't like the Sons of Abraham.
Well, in fairness, okay, before I go into what else I don't like, let me say something I do like. So but this is one of the thing. This is the thing, though. The thing I do like about him is a more libertarian aspect of his policies. So, did you see that campaign ad he did, where he said, "We're going to uh, make the food vending licenses really cheap and really plentiful. That way, these shawarma vendors can decrease their price, or halal vendors can decrease their prices from 14 a plate to $10 a plate."
Mm-hmm.
And, in some ways, that's kind of like a petty, small, like not very grand issue, but I'd much rather pay $10 for some halal meat than 14. So, and that's it. I thought that was very smart. Like, yes, deregulate, let these people get their licenses, so they're not paying thousands and thousands and thousands just for the right to have a food truck,
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for that. That's totally sensible. There could be an argument like where maybe too many food trucks. There's all of a sudden too many food trucks, but I doubt that would. I mean, New York City's pretty big. You'd have to have a lot of food trucks to overcrowd it. So I think that's a great idea of his. But again, that's not a socialist idea. That's a more libertarian deregulation idea. So when he has a good idea, it's not a left-wing idea, it's a right-wing idea.
Well, that's a hell of a thought process you got going for you there.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I think that this idea, listen, they already are trying the free bus fares, and it's not like you're saying, like there hasn't been this massive increase in homelessness on there or crime on there. I mean, listen, here's who takes the bus in New York City. It's nurses, it's teachers, it's not these intellectual like Wall Street bros, right? It's just not. So whenever we're trying to think of something that's going to benefit everybody, your argument is that like, oh, some homeless people might try to use it to escape the cold, and I'm like, I mean, tough shit, dude. I mean, that sucks, but you know, and plus they'll have to get off. They'll have to, use the bathroom. They'll have to eat. They'll have to do something. So.
Well, yeah, but then they get right back on after they're done taking a shit in the street. So
Okay, well, help me out here then. Let me just get a concession from you. If he does this, and in a year, 6 months, whatever time frame you and I agree upon, there's no radical increase in like homeless crime or whatever on these buses, are you going to be like, Wyatt, I was wrong. I am stupid.
yeah, I'll totally eat crow on this, but I think it's a terrible idea, and it'll probably yield
Not even
terrible
worth.
results.
Not even worth an experiment.
It's worth. He can experiment with it. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not one of these types that I don't find Mamdani to be an existential threat. I just think he's more silly, honestly, and I think it's dumb. I mean, he can try it by all means. Let him try it. Let him do the grocery stores. It's only like 5 grocery stores that he wants to open.
Right.
It's not like it's every grocery store in New York City, so it's not like he's gonna like tank the economy. I just think it's a dumb idea that's not gonna solve any problems. And if anything, with the buses, in the case of the buses, I think it's gonna cause problems.
Right. A lot of activity over impact from your perspective, right? Not necessarily the other way around.
Yeah. Basically, it's like there's going to be a lot of effort put into these initiatives, but especially with the grocery store thing, I just don't see it yielding any, I mean, big results. But that's one of his small things. I mean, obviously, his big policy is the rent freeze, and while I am incredibly sympathetic, and I can totally see where, especially like working class New Yorkers are coming from in terms of the city becoming just completely unlivable.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get why you would want a rent freeze, but also the thing is, it's like it's the city that everyone in the entire world wants to live in, so you're never going to decrease demand to live there, and that's part of the reason the prices are so high everywhere. And there's a lot of economic arguments where once you start interfering with the free market, by like instituting rent freezes. And I get a lot of the housing there is already subsidized or frozen to an extent. But I mean, if it's taken too far, it makes it to where developers no longer find it profitable to build, and if it's no longer profitable to build, then, well, your supply of housing is stagnant while demand remains increasing. I mean, that's just going to raise prices. So even more. So it could potentially have a deleterious effect where, because of the laws of supply and demand, even though the rent is frozen, I mean, for the apartments that aren't frozen, those apartments will just go up in cost. So
Yeah, that's actually the point I was going to bring up is that, like, the way that this works from an economics perspective is that, like, anyone who is not going to be a direct beneficiary of the rent freeze, everyone else's rent by necessity will have to go up. That's just unfortunately how it works. It seems like really the only way that you're going to solve this is to build more housing. That just seems to be the way that this gets solved. And I'm not sure if he has a plan for that. And I'm not even sure that the New York mayor can. Like, I'm pretty sure that decision is going to be made in Albany, which is where the state capital is. So maybe Hochul will help Mamdani there. But I mean, I doubt it because, I mean, why would she? She didn't even really want him to fucking win to begin with.
yeah, I mean, I could see maybe popular pressure since he's so since everybody loves the guy, but
This is
I
this
mean,
is the this is the issue I'm the least confident about, like, working, because I just don't see how it can.
yeah, I
Maybe,
mean, and you run into other problems. I mean, like you said, they're just going to have to build more, but it's like, okay, where do you build more? Because you're on like an island or I guess a peninsula or
mhm.
whatever, and I mean, it's already so crowded. So unless you wanted to start paving over Central Park, I just don't see any land for you to even build on. So it's one of these things. It's like, you can build up, and that's kind of difficult building up on buildings that are already there rather than just building on the ground where you can lay new foundation. So I mean, he's going to be running into a lot of problems if he wants to reduce housing costs. I mean, I just don't know how you really reduce costs when it comes to housing. It really is the most coveted real estate in the world. So
Right. I mean,
it
it's the same thing with California. People are like, well, rent and stuff keeps going up, and it's like, yeah, no shit. You have the existing population plus everyone in the fucking planet wants to live there.
yeah,
Like, this is just a math problem, you know? And I get it. Like, if you're an old New Yorker and you're like, I've been here forever and I don't want to be, I'm being priced out of my home. And I'm like, dude, I mean, that's like, I feel for people like that because that sucks. Like, imagine if you had to, like, leave where you're from, not because you did anything wrong or anyone did anything wrong, just you don't make enough money to live there because too many other people want to. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that sucks. Like,
Oh yeah, it's terribly sad. I mean, especially because, and I feel most bad truly for like the more working class types, and not that I want to play some world's smallest violin or anything, but you got all these rich people that come there, they go there to work in Wall Street or go to art school or have fun in their 20s, and but all the people that run the place, the people that man the subways, the cops, the people who work at the restaurants that all these swanky restaurants that people want to go to uh as tourists, how can they afford to live in this place where they make a living? I don't
mhm.
know. I don't know because I mean, I feel like what I make in Oklahoma is pretty good, but I know that if I took my salary up there, it would be a pittance. I mean, they would think I'm poor or something up there.
Oh, absolutely.
So
But
I
yeah,
mean, I just
yes. Just to clarify, this is the one where I'm like, I mean, I don't know about this one, Zoran. I don't, but I mean, listen, if he wants to try it just during his term, I mean, let's just see the results, and at least then we can put to bed this idea of freezing rent. You know what I mean? Like that's my thought here.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, let him try, and if he fails, whatever. And I definitely feel that way about the grocery stores, but with this one, I feel like the impact could be much, much larger and potentially way worse. So on this one, I don't even know if I'm willing. if I
If you're
was
not
like
willing to,
Hochul or
yeah,
something, and I could say you can or you can't, I don't know if I'd let them. I
yeah.
mean,
Well, so here's the thing too, though. I mean, you got to think like you and I may be victim to like academic thinking here because if you remember when Trump first came into office, so like traditional economics will tell you that the ideal unemployment rate is like right around like 6.5%. Like nature sits at 6.5% unemployment is basically how they made it seem like in these economics classes. And then Trump gets into office and unemployment drops down below 6, below 5, below 4. And the horses aren't eating each other and everything's fine and the economy is still booming and everything's great. So I think that like you and I have to be careful of like okay, just because like a math formula says that if you freeze rent for half the population or whatever percent, then everyone else has to go up by necessity to reach equilibrium, right? I think we have to be careful of that because like I don't know that economics is necessarily an exact like science here. You know, like and I don't think market forces necessarily reach there all the time. Sometimes they can linger around. So I'm just curious. That's all I'm saying. And like I said, this is the one where I'm like I don't know that I would recommend this, but just something to keep an eye out for.
yeah, I mean, well, I guess if it, you know, turns out terribly, I don't live up there, so it's not a huge deal to me. So go ahead and let them try it, I guess. And I mean, if it turns out badly, I can say, well, y'all voted for it. But I do feel sorry for them if it does turn out badly, because I think a lot of people just you know they don't really understand the economic arguments as to why it would not work. But
Yeah. Um Okay, this is like I think this is like the last big one that I had jotted down in my notes, but universal child care for children under 5. Do you have any particular thoughts about that one?
oh, you know what? I'd actually forgotten about this one, but this one actually I don't really have a problem with. I think this one is totally fine and a good thing, really. And if anything, this will probably boost productivity. It'll give people more disposable income too. I mean, childcare is so expensive that I think this is actually his best idea, to be honest. I mean, because if he can make it to where all these like new parents don't have to, like spend an arm and a leg just to keep their kid babysat while they go to work for the first few years of their life, then yeah, this will be really good for the wealth of families coming up. It'll make it to where families can live in New York. So I have no problem with this, and I don't even think it would be all that expensive. So of all of his things, if he could do that, I would say he'd be a great mayor if he could get that done. I don't know if he can, but
Yeah, in my opinion, this should be the focus of his first full year in office is getting this done because I think this would be like this is one of those things that is right up there with Social Security in terms of durability. Like once this is enacted, there is no going back. Every major city in America will begin offering it, and then pretty soon New York as a state will adopt it or California, and then it'll be a federal issue. So this is how stuff builds momentum. And I think that this is one that should be like obvious. Like, okay, we're gonna take care of kids under 5 or kids under 7 or whatever, right? It's something that could literally put his name right up there with FDR in terms of like welfare programs. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one actually. So
Yeah,
I
and like you said, it's really not that expensive. Like it's basically just daycare. Like and
oh
and it
yeah.
and it's just subsidized. Like it's not government funded. It's not like pre-K basically for newborn kids. It's like just the government writes the check. So um okay,
Oh yeah.
just to kind of round off here before we get off, do you think he'll be effective in implementing all this, or do you think, because obviously he won't get all of it, but what do you think he has the highest chance of getting? And then overall, do you see this as like a ticking time bomb or like a new path forward for governing left wing?
Um okay, so with him, it's sad because like the best things, which are the free childcare, I feel like he has less of a chance to get that done, but he has a really high chance of getting the worst thing, which is the 5 subsidized grocery stores,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like the 5 subsidized grocery stores is so inconsequential that he just won't even run into that many obstacles in order to get it. So yeah, I with him it's like I'm pessimistic about how effective he'll be. But maybe he'll surprise me. I have my doubts though. And in terms of, is this a new path forward? In some ways, yeah. I think this shows the Democrats that if you want to win big, you can have silly ideas like 5 subsidized grocery stores, but if you're authentic and if you're willing to take a moral stand and be anti-Zionist, anti-genocide, then you have a lot of potential to win big, and you can blow establishment people out of the water in really big ways. So I hope that more Democrats are learning their lesson from this. I don't know if, I mean, the calculus might be that the backlash from the Israeli lobby would be uh, too too much, and it wouldn't be worth it. But I do hope that they take the lesson that if you make a stand on that issue, that you can win big. But what say you? How effective do you think he'll be? And do you think this is a template for the future, or do you think this is more of an anomaly that is not going to be replicated?
Well, first, let me just say that I think that Republicans are absolutely terrified of this guy. Not that his ideas won't work and that it'll blow up and he'll just be another example of why socialism doesn't work, but I think they're terrified that either A, it does work and it does bring down prices and it does make everyone have more affordable housing and cheaper childcare or free childcare, and they're worried that that will become a benchmark for the opposing side. So I think that if he's going to be effective, he's going to need help from Albany, right, which is the state capital. And there's a lot of tension. We're not from New York, but my understanding is that basically the main tension is between the state government and the city government. They're always battling over something, whether it's construction of a bridge, funding for a road, all of that shit. And that is nothing compared to what Zohran is going to be asking of Hochul. So I think that his big test is going to be, can he stand up or really work with Hochul to get a lot of this passed? And I think that he could. I think that he's gone out of his way to try and be very generous to her, despite the fact that she waited as long as she possibly could to support him. And then in terms of his effectiveness, I'm agnostic, but I definitely lean like this is probably not going to be as effective as people might think. But it's also one of those things that like if you message loud enough, it can still inspire engagement. So, and I'm not blind to that. Like, I mean, Trump is the perfect example of this, where it's like you have to just shout as loud as possible that you're doing something to solve an issue, and eventually people will believe it. His success could be, I mean, New York is where the Democratic mind thinks and lives. So if he is successful here, I mean, I know he can never be president technically, but well, I mean, depends on who you ask there. But for right now, he cannot be president because he wasn't born here. But um, he could be like a thought leader within the Democratic movement if he is successful. Um, we'll just have to kind of wait and see. Only time will tell. Or he could be a total embarrassment and flop within a couple of years. I don't see like a scandal coming out of this administration, though. Do you? Like, do you feel like we're gonna have like a Cuomo or a Mayor Adams scenario or a De Blasio where it's like, oh shit, scandal, scandal, scandal?
No, for all this guy's faults, I don't really see him taking bribe money, and I don't see him like sexually harassing allegedly. I don't see him sexually harassing anyone. Not that I even think. I mean, this is a rabbit hole. I don't think what Cuomo did was really all too bad, but I just don't even see Zohran even doing anything close to what Cuomo did. He seems too woke and educated to do so.